If we were sitting here 60 years ago and looking at Saudi Arabia and looking at Abu Dhabi, wondering if those are potential interesting regions for oil and gas, that's exactly where we stand today for the Central Asia and South Caucasus region. Some investors are still wondering if that region could be of interest, but the potential is enormous. Now, there are good news and bad news. I'll start with the latter. The growth, of course, is about 7 to 8% GDP on the yearly basis with ups and downs, but the balance of payment is very much relying on external financing, which means you need to have foreign direct investment to be able to diversify the economies. And there are two additional issues. Small and medium enterprises in this region account to about 37% of GDP, 95% of SMEs, so about 37% of GDP. In the OECD countries, it's more about 66% of GDP. So you have to develop those SMEs somehow, because this is employment, this is jobs. But you also have to develop skills. If today you have to recruit some IT specialists in the region, out of 10 that you want to recruit, you'll find 5. And out of the 5, 2 will have the right training across the region. So what's the good news? The good news is that if we're sitting here in London and we look at foreign direct investments going into the region, there has been 3 waves. One starting in 1995, going to Central Europe, and then gradually stagnating. A second one starting in 2003, going to the Western Balkans, and then stagnating. And a third one that has started in about 2005-06, going to Central Asia and the South Caucasus. And that is continuing to grow. And there we go into the rules of the 375. 75% of those FDIs are concentrated into a country I know well, which is Kazakhstan, across Central Asia. But 75% are also into 3 regions of Kazakhstan. And 75% of gross regional products is also in 3 regions of Kazakhstan. So the issue of diversification and industrialization is critical to the governments of that country.
We move from the cluster to an ecosystem way of thinking about it. That you create an ecosystem which is more natural, more organic, which creates a knowledge economy of the region. And I mean the region, not just a particular country. When you look at the ecosystem, you have to think broader than the political borders. And that's why the Caspian is a very interesting paradigm in which to look at this. In terms of what we're doing, I think I'll sort of embed into what I'm about to say more broadly. I think one of the key things, the key challenges beyond the petrochemical and mining successes in the region, but even within those sectors, is the technology procurement capacity of the countries, not of the companies only.
If you're Azerbaijan, right, number one, you have heard every theory about development and the need to diversify the economy and develop your human capital that anyone out there has, because Azerbaijani officials have hired all the best people. They know what needs to be done. They've received lectures for years from people like me in the White House or the State Department saying you need to diversify your growth, take care of your people, fight poverty. And the good news is they've done it, or they're doing it. They're working on it. In terms of poverty alleviation, not because of luck, but because of a combination of high investments in the oil and gas sector and real policy vision, you've seen the poverty rate decrease from 49% to around 9 or even less now 8% in Azerbaijan since 2003. That's amazing decline in poverty. You have now seen over the last few years economic growth in the non-oil and gas sector outpacing growth in the oil and gas sector. That's going to change now with $25 billion about to be invested in Shah Deniz Phase 2. But the Azerbaijani government understands the need to diversify and is trying to develop fields outside of oil and gas. So when we talk all about the need for the Azerbaijanis to understand why there has to be value-added industries created, well, that's where petrochemicals comes in. So you've got SOCAR leading the way with a gigantic investment, the OGPC, south of Baku. Also, north of Baku in Sumgait, and there's a Sumgait Petrochemicals Park. There's the company, full disclosure, on whose board I sit, AzMeCo, our hosts here, primarily our host today, which is a totally private company, 100% private, bought a methanol factory in Texas, shipped it over to Baku, invested $500 million, and is now producing 750,000 tons of methanol a year. So there are people with great vision in the government and in the private sector, and things are getting moving, but the reality, in other sectors too, in agribusiness, in heavy industry, shipbuilding, information technology, which President Aliyev has designated as the #1 sector of the economy that needs to grow outside of oil and gas, oil services developing, tourism, transportation. So there's a desire and a vision and a recognition of the need to diversify the economy, mining as well.
Currently, I shall note that from 2008 up to the January of this year, there was a moratorium on tenders for subsoil use right. But now in January, the Ministry of Oil and Gas published invitations to tender for 3 oil and gas fields, and there are more to come. Also, for the hard mineral subsoil users, the Ministry of Industry and New Technologies, this is the competent authority, also will publish a rather lengthy list of fields for exploration and production. So currently, those company wins which provided the biggest subscription bonus and amount of payments for social development of the region.
The government went out of its way to help us to do our business in Azerbaijan. Not because we producing something like 70, 80,000 ounces of gold a year. Compared to oil sector, it's a small contribution. But what we have done, we have developed a geographic section of Azerbaijan which was ignored for so many years. It's a mountainous area very close to the border of Armenia. We employed close to 1,000 people there, and we really made big difference in their day-to-day living. We built the school, kindergarten, road, infrastructure, electricity, water supply to the villages around us.